Coming up on Sports Paws, it's postseason time for winter sports. We'll show you what happened and give you insight to what it all means. All of that coming up tonight on Sports Paws. Hello everyone and welcome to Sports Paws. I'm Jordan Siegler alongside Carolyn Fales, and we have a very big show for you tonight.
That's right, Jordan. Big week for Quinnipiac athletics as the basketball teams went to Springfield for the MAAC Tournament, and you can't forget those spring sports are well underway.
No, you can't, but first, let's reignite a big rivalry on the ice. The men's hockey team began their postseason this past weekend with a matchup against the rival Yale Bulldogs in the quarterfinals of the ECAC playoffs. The last time these two teams met in a postseason, the national championship game last April. Yale won that game 4-0, but that was just a battle, not the war. The war of Whitney Avenue rages on, the battlefield, this time, the High Point Solutions Arena. The Bobcats playing the Yale Bulldogs at the High Point Solutions Arena. First period, Brandon Sherman wraps around, deflected, and the rebound is scored by Tim Clifton. Bobcats up 1-0. Now, on to the second period. We're going to go with 4 minutes into that period. Zach Tolkien is going to get the puck. He's going to turn around and fire it at the net. It's deflected, and another rebound goal, this time from Travis St. Dennis. So 2 rebound goals for the Bobcats, giving them a 2-0 lead. Just a minute later, a defensive breakdown by Yale leaves Connor Jones in front of the net. The backhand, 5-hole past Lyon, and the Bobcats go up 3-0. They're also going to tack on a 4th goal. So now with a 4-0 lead, the wheels are going to start to come off, as Bryce Van Brommen gets whistled for the penalty, and that's going to put Yale on the power play, and it's Ryan Obukowski capitalizing on that power play, and that cuts the lead. It is 4-1 Bobcats. We're now going to go to the third period with Yale on another power play, and Yale's going to pass the puck around, and eventually it's going to find its way to Stu Wilson. Wilson is going to skate, and he's going to shoot at the net, and he gets it past John Hayden deflects it past Michael Gartig, and that cuts Quinnipiac's lead to 2. 5 minutes later, QU takes it back with Jordan Samuels-Thomas streaking to the net, and he puts it in, and it's back to a 3-goal lead for Quinnipiac. With just 10 minutes to go, Connor Clifton for some insurance on the breakaway. He scores. The Bobcats will go on to win 6-2, taking the first game of this 3-game set. And Carolyn, what's going to happen in game 2?
We'll see, but first, Sam Annis is going to get a little sneak preview of the conference.
Playoff hockey, no matter what league you're in, it's just a lot more exciting and everything's magnified, and honestly, it's just a lot of fun playing out there.
Sam Annis thinks playoff hockey is fun, and so do we at Sports Paws. This is game 2 of Quinnipiac versus Yale. Early in the first period, Connor Jones skates the puck into the zone, passes to his brother Kellen, who will pass to Sam Annis. Annis scores, and Quinnipiac takes the early lead. Shortly after, Matthew Pekka passes to Zach Tokinen at the point, who takes a shot on net. Travis St. Dennis scores on the rebound. Bobcats take a 2-0 lead. Yale on the power play. Kenny Agostino passes Jesse Root over to John Hayden. He shoots and scores. Bulldogs cut the lead in half. At the end of the first, Pekka has the puck along the board, centers it to Braden Sherbanen, and Tommy Schutt this time will put in the rebound. Quinnipiac makes it 2-1. In the second period, Mike Doherty carries the puck into the Quinnipiac zone, takes a shot, and somehow this puck will find its way into the back of the net. Yale goes on to score another goal and ties the game at 3-3 going into the third period. In the third period, Derek Smith at the blue line passes the puck to Bryce Van Brabant. He gets the puck on net, and Jordan Samuels-Thomas finds himself a goal. Quinnipiac takes a 4-3 lead late in the third. Connor Jones cuts off a Yale pass, gives the puck to Annis. He will shoot, and he will score. Bobcats win 5-3 over Yale. They defeat the Bulldogs in 2 games to advance to the ECAC semifinals. Here's Connor Jones after the game.
Yeah, it feels unreal. Winning's a great feeling, and we want to keep moving on. We want to win the ECA season, and we want to win regionals, and ultimately we want to win a national championship. Because we don't have anything on Yale until we get our own ring of our own, and that's where we want to be.
We are joined now by our men's hockey analyst, Marty Joseph. Marty is fresh off doing color commentary for QBSN for both of the Quinnipiac Yale games. So, Marty, are you ready to talk even more hockey?
You know what, Carolyn, why not? Might as well.
All right, let's get started. Which player stood out to you as the key in the victories over Yale?
I actually saw two players stood out to me the most. Travis St. Denis being one of them, and Zach Tolkien in the other. Travis St. Denis with 3 goals, 7 shots on the weekend. He really added another element to the Bobcats offense. He was running around all over the offensive zone, really creating havoc for all the Yale defenders. And then we all know the absence of Danny Federico, and I think Zach Tolkien stood in and really elevated his game. And you saw it, he had 3 assists. He really helped out on the power play, and he was also really big defensively as well.
All right, now defensively, what do you think the Bobcats need to work on the most?
It's actually the penalty kill, I think, is the only thing you take out of that. They gave up 3 power play goals to a power play unit in Yale that wasn't very strong coming in. They were 24th in the nation, but they gave Quinnipiac some trouble. John Hayden with 2 of those power play goals. So they just need to clean things up in front of the net a little bit. The first goal by Hayden was a deflection, but the second one, he was all alone in front. He had a one-timer. So they just need to clean up stuff in front of the net. But I think the penalty kill is really the only thing you need to look at defensively.
And as you know, QU is advancing to the semifinals against Colgate. The last time Quinnipiac played Colgate was on their senior night, and they lost. So what do the Bobcats need to do differently this time?
Well, I think you saw it this weekend, really. They crashed the net. They created havoc for the Yale defenders. They found ways to get second-chance opportunities. They got bodies to the front of the net. In that stretch of games where they were struggling scoring goals against Colgate and Cornell that weekend, they weren't doing that. So if they can continue to do that, continue to throw bodies in front of the net, throw pucks on net, and fight for rebounds, they'll find ways to score goals.
All right, and which players do you think Rand Pecknold is looking to the most in these upcoming games?
Well, if you ask Pecknold, he's going to look for every single one of his players to play well. But I think if you want to key in on a certain amount of players, you can look at the senior class. Everyone knows how motivated they are, especially the way last season ended. The Joneses have been saying it all year long that they want to get back, they want to win the ECAC, and they want to win a national championship. So expect them to bring their games. Especially if Danny Federico is out, you're going to see Zach Tolkien bring his A game as well. And then Michael Gartic, he's probably the biggest factor as well in net.
All right, what do you think of the current pairwise rankings? Are the Bobcats in a good place?
I mean, they're 6th right now. And I mean, last year, yeah, they were number 1 overall going into the tournament. But it might be nice to not have that much pressure heading into the tournament. At this point, I think just getting in is the biggest thing. They want to be playing their best hockey. They went in a little bit of a tough break going in after losing to Brown. They struggled a bit in that first game against Canisius. So if they're just playing their best hockey, I think a 2 seed or even a lower 1 seed is fine where they're playing.
All right, thank you so much, Marty, for coming in. And when we come back, we will switch from the ice to the hardwood. We'll see how the men's and women's teams fared in their respective fights to the big dance. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken with cheese for just over $4, giant cheesesteak subs, and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q-Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
The men's basketball team finished their regular season on a low note, losing their last 2 games as well as an injury to one of their top players. But regardless, the team had a stellar first season in the MAAC, a season nobody thought they would have. After being selected 7th in the preseason rankings, the Bobcats ended up finishing in 3rd place. The team traveled to Springfield, Massachusetts for the MAAC Tournament, and with a first-round bye, all that stood in the team's path to a MAAC title were 3 games. First up, the Niagara Purple Eagles. Bobcats taking on Niagara in the quarterfinals at the Mass Mutual Center. We're going to start here in the first half. Zaid Hurst is going to pass it to Ike Azatam in the low post. Azatam spins. He's going to lose the ball, but passes it back out to Hurst for 3, and the Bobcats get on the board first. 3-0 Quinnipiac. Later on in the first half, it's Ramon Snowden. He's going to pass out to Marvin Jordan for 3, and Niagara out to an 8-5 lead. Later in the half, Hurst down to Azatam on the low block. Azatam posting up Marcus Ware. Gets around Ware to the hoop, and the layup is good, and the score is now 14-13 Niagara. Next possession, Snowden's going to drive to the hoop here. He's going to kick it out to Wesley Myers, who's going to drive to the hoop, and the acrobatic layup is good. And now the last 2 minutes of the half, Shaq Shannon brings the ball up, pulls up from 3, and he knocks it down. Quinnipiac up 38-36 at halftime. Now to the second half, a few minutes in, Antoine Mason gets the ball, he drives, pulls up for the jumper, and a lucky bounce, and it goes in. Quinnipiac up 4. Less than a minute later, Bobcats possession, Shaq Shannon is going to pass to Evan Conti for 3. Bobcats still up by 4 points. Later on, Niagara in transition, Mason finds Wesley Myers, who finds Joe Thomas for the slam dunk, and Niagara cuts Quinnipiac's lead down to 2. For the next possession, Evan Conti drives, he kicks it out to Shaq Shannon for 3 from the corner. Shannon knocks it down. He had a career-high 20 points in the game. Quinnipiac goes on to win 89-80. Here's Coach Moore after the game.
You're really proud of our team, first of all, for getting our 20th win at this level. I think everybody in this room realizes that's a significant accomplishment. I thought we stabilized ourselves a little bit on both ends in the second half. These guys are older. They listen very well. They get invested in the scouting report. They really try to do what we ask them to do. They've done it 30 times this year, and they did it again tonight.
All right, Jordan, and now we're going to have the next game, Quinnipiac Bobcats taking on the Manhattan Jaspers in the MAAC Tournament semifinals. Before the game, Zaid Hurst, and Ike Azatam getting pumped up for this very important game early in the first half. Michael Alvarado passes the ball to Ramil Brown. Brown makes the layup, and Manhattan takes the early lead. Later in the first half, Evan Conti passes the ball to Zaid Hurst, who then passes it to Ike Azatam. He'll take the jumper. He had 18 points on the day, Jordan. Later in the half, George Beeman puts up the layup and misses. Rich Williams and Tyler Wilson will pass it back and forth. Williams then will pull up, take the three-pointer, and he makes it. Jaspers are up 18-11. Moments later, Rashawn Storrs has the ball behind the arc. He'll dribble around, and then he's just going to drain this one. Jaspers are up now 23-16. In the second half, Alvarado forces a steal from Ike Azatam. Beeman drives the length of the floor. He'll hit this layup. Jaspers are up 42-40. A few moments later, Usman Drame gets the ball stolen by Beeman. Beeman gets the feed down from Michael Alvarado. Right here, he'll get the feed, and he will then make the 3. Jaspers are up 51-43. As the game's winding down, Ike Azatam is subbed out, and the Bobcats would lose 87-68. The team's MAAC tournament run comes to a close. Here's graduating senior Ike Azatam after the loss.
I'm disappointed, obviously. I'm disappointed, but I'm definitely proud of my team. We fought a lot of adversity this year with the injuries, being picked 7th in the MAAC, so I'm definitely proud of the guys. I'm disappointed how tonight ended, of course, but I don't know. It's tough. It's tough losing this game. We played good in the first half. We 40-40. Second half, we didn't score the ball good enough, and we were a little rattled by their pressure.
After the Bobcats lost to the Jaspers, Manhattan went on to play Iona for the MAAC championship. The game was a fight to the finish, with both teams putting up impressive scoring runs. Manhattan overtook Iona in the final moments to win 71-68. George Beeman scored 16 points in the game. He was one of 4 Jaspers to reach double digits. Manhattan gets the automatic bid to the NCAA Tournament and has been given the 13th seed and will play 4th-seeded Louisville in the first round.
Last season, the women's basketball team dominated the NEC on their way to an undefeated conference record and an NEC championship. While they may not have had the same dominant season, they were still good enough for a 4th-place finish in the new conference. The Bobcats went to Springfield in search for their 2nd straight NCAA tournament berth. They started off the tournament with a 72-61 quarterfinal victory against the Canisius Golden Griffins. Leading the way off the bench was senior Cameron Warner with 17 points. Senior Brittany McQueen was also a major factor, recording a double-double with 13 points and 12 rebounds.
And after beating Canisius, Jordan, the Bobcats look to take down the top-seeded Iona Gales. Winning this game would mean a chance at the MAAC championship in their first year in the conference. Only thing in their way was the MAAC Player of the Year, D'Amica Martinez, and the rest of the Gales. Quinnipiac women's basketball taking on the top-seeded Gales of Iona in the MAAC semifinals at the Mass Mutual Center. Early in the first half, D'Amica Martinez off the inbound makes the layup over two Quinnipiac defenders. Iona takes the early lead up 4-2. Shortly after, Brittany McQuain powers through the Iona defense to make the easy layup. The Bobcats take a 5-4 lead. Later in the half, McQuain off the missed shot rebounds, goes up and makes the layup. Quinnipiac is down 16-10. Late in the first half, McQuain takes the pass down low from Jasmine Martin and makes another layup. In the second half, Cameron Warner off the inbound powers through and makes the layup. That's a nice spin move there, Cameron. Shortly after, Iona attempting to come back as D'Amica Martinez sinks the three-pointer. Quinnipiac still up 37-29. Later in the half, Jasmine Martin takes a pass from Boo Abshire and drives in to make the layup. Bobcats starting to put the game away at 43-33. Late in the half, Sam Guastella takes the rebound off of a missed shot and puts it home. Quinnipiac would win this one 79-68 to eliminate first-seeded Iona and advance to the MAAC finals. Here's Coach Trish Fabry on the win.
We do what we do on offense. We take care of the ball and we score the ball, and everyone really played a big role in just our efficiency on the offensive side, and then just how tenacious we were, understanding the scout and listening to adjustments and going out and performing. It just was, it was actually a lot of fun.
We were going to get it together, and we just had to continue to keep fighting and doing what we do. You know, sometimes the ball isn't going to go in the basket, but if we know we have our teammates behind us and our coaches believe in us, we believe in each other, we have all our fans there, we knew we were going to do what we came here to do. So we just played the game. You can't think too much, you just got to play. So.
The Quinnipiac Bobcats taking on the Marist Red Foxes in the MAAC championship for all the marbles. Opening minutes of the game. Some strong inside defense by the Bobcats as Madeline Blaze trying to get to the basket. She's going to miss the layup. Sam Guastella with the rebound. Bobcats offense clicking early. Boo Abshire cutting through the defense. She finds an open Ellen Cannon for 3. Bobcats up 11-10. The Marist offense answers as Sydney Coffey from the corner. She knocks down the 3. Marist keeping pace. A few minutes later, Quinnipiac Nicolai Ostergaard passes to Brittany McQuain for the jumper, and the Bobcats are up 16-15. Quinnipiac's offense continues to roll with Boo Abshire finds Brittany McQuain down low for the layup. We've seen that one a couple times before. Bobcats leading 35-24 at halftime. Second half was a much different story as Jasmine Martin misses the layup there. Boo Abshire with the ball here. She's going to find Martin. Martin drives to the hoop, and another miss coming there for Jasmine Martin. Later in the half, Abshire trying to find McQuain down low. You saw this work earlier, and it doesn't work here. She's blocked. Final minute, Boo Abshire trying to hit a 3. She misses. The rebound here by Marist, and the Bobcats are forced to foul. Marist heading to the line for free throws. Here's Leanna Condon with her second free throw. She makes it. Marist leading by 4, and Jasmine Martin's last prayer of a 3 misses, and the Marist Red Foxes are the 2014 MAAC champions. And there you see the Quinnipiac Bobcats devastated by the loss. They missed the opportunity for a second straight NCAA berth. Here's Coach Fabry after the game.
I was really proud of our young ladies' efforts, my coaching staff's efforts to get us into this game. And obviously, for much of that game, you know, we played really, really well. And it just obviously stings, you know, having that game not turn out in our favor.
We now welcome in our basketball analyst, Tom Albanese. Tom, how you doing?
Jordan, I'm just doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Now, you were up in Springfield covering the game, so let's talk about what happened at the tournament. Let's talk about the men's team first. Obviously, they lost Umar Shannon right before the tournament started. How did that affect their play in the tournament?
Jordan, two big things really were the main result of Umar Shannon not being on the floor. First of all, in the last 4 games, including the 2 games that they played at the MAAC tournament, Quinnipiac's points per game just depleted in the last 4 games that they played. Their points per game went down. They didn't have that offensive weapon in Umar Shannon. The second thing that happened was they lost their good ball handler, and that's something that Tom Moore really needs from one of his point guards, and that caused, in the last 4 games, Jordan, they committed more turnovers than their opposition did, and that's just not going to get the job done if you're Quinnipiac and Tom Moore, because you need to control the ball, and without Umar Shannon, the Bobcats just couldn't do that.
Now, if they had Umar Shannon, do you think things would have turned out differently for the team?
You know, Jordan, I think it would have, because, again, they would have had a key offensive weapon on the floor in Umar Shannon who can shoot the ball. And Tom Moore really could rely on Umar Shannon to get the job done. If the game is close or tied, he can come up with a big play to help Quinnipiac go on with a victory. And we saw that earlier this season when they traveled up to Niagara. He hit the game-winning shot to help them win 90-88 in that game. So obviously, Tom Moore sees a huge role in Umar Shannon, and without him in the MAAC tournament, it just fell apart for the Bobcats.
All right, so now let's talk about their next game. Now, in the regular season, they beat Manhattan twice. So what happened in this game? They lost by 19.
A couple of big things happened, Jordan. First of all, Usman Drami was just not present at the game. He finished the game with 8 points and 6 rebounds. That's just un-Usman numbers that we see for him in the regular season, especially in their winning streak back in February. Again, and the next thing, only for the second time this season, Jordan, they got out-rebounded by Manhattan, 37-34. Obviously, that's not Quinnipiac-like in this game, and that really contributed. Also, again, back to Umar Shannon, he had 2 good performances against Manhattan earlier in the season. Without him, you lost an offensive weapon. And finally, they could not contain Ramel Brown, George Beeman, and Emmy Andujar, 3 people that all scored double figures in that game. Everything just fell apart for Quinnipiac, especially in the second half down the stretch.
All right, now let's move over and talk about the women's team. How surprised with you with their win against Iona?
I wasn't really surprised at all because earlier in the season, Quinnipiac had 2 good games against Iona that, yes, it did result in losses on the part of Quinnipiac, but it was only by a combined 17 points. So they were in the game in both games against Iona. And Quinnipiac, their defense came alive in the second half. Yes, they couldn't take out weapons, D'Amica Martinez and Joy Adams on Iona, who had a combined 52 points in the game. But everyone else, they were able to shut down. And because of that, Quinnipiac was able to come up with a big victory and advance to the championship game.
All right, now quickly, they were beating Marist by 11 at halftime. How did they lose the lead?
You know, Jordan, in the second half, Quinnipiac only shot just over 30% from the floor. Marist, it was double that. It's over 60% from the floor. And Quinnipiac, they went on a series of runs in the first half to get a double-digit lead at halftime. But Marist, they've been in this situation a bunch of times, and it was just able to really chip off that lead, and because of that, Marist was able to win the game with those big weapons that they have on the offensive end, as we've seen for a majority of the season.
All right, thank you, Tom.
No problem.
Now, while the MAAC tournament losses by both teams means they will be excluded from the NCAA tournament, it does not mean that they will be excluded from postseason play entirely. The men's team will be playing in the College Basketball Insiders Tournament. Their first round game will be on Wednesday night against Yale. The women's team, on the other hand, accepted an invitation into the women's NIT. The matchups for the NIT will be announced later this evening. Coming up next on Sports Paws, the women's hockey team's run ended and spring sports are in full swing. Also, one of the best athletes to ever wear a Bobcats uniform will now become a 2-sport athlete. We'll tell you who after the break. Don't go away.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken with cheese for just over $4, giant cheesesteak subs, and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q-Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
After defeating St. Lawrence last week, the women's ice hockey team advanced to the ECAC semifinals for a matchup with regular season champion, the Clarkson Golden Knights. It was here that the Bobcats season came to an abrupt end in a 6-0 loss to Clarkson. The season marked the best in program history for the Bobcats.
And Jordan, while it may have been a historic season for Quinnipiac, it wasn't enough to get the Bobcats an at-large bid from the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee. Quinnipiac was ranked 8th in the pairwise rankings, which would usually be good enough to make the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately for the Bobcats, Boston University won the Hockey East Conference Championship, earning them an automatic bid and bumping Quinnipiac out of the tournament. The Frozen Four will be held this weekend in Hamden between Minnesota, Wisconsin, Clarkson, and Mercyhurst. Stay tuned to Q30 Sports coverage of the tournament.
The end of this season also marks the end of Kelly Babstock's historic career for Quinnipiac hockey, that is. This weekend, Babstock will trade in her hockey stick and blades for a lacrosse stick and cleats as she makes her Quinnipiac lacrosse debut. Babstock was the leading scorer for one season on her high school men's lacrosse team back in Canada.
For the second straight week, the Quinnipiac men's lacrosse team has been ranked in the New England Intercollegiate Lacrosse Association's weekly poll. The Bobcats found themselves at the number 7 position. Quinnipiac went on to play both Hartford and Manhattan. The Bobcats lost to the Hartford Hawks 6-3 and then claimed their first MAAC win against Manhattan with a score of 10-7. The women's lacrosse team lost to both Hofstra and Vermont over the break. Kira Aquat tallied a career-high 7 points against Vermont, but it wasn't enough in the 19-10 loss.
The baseball team's gotten off to a rocky start this season, losing its first 6 games. QU finally got into the win column with a 6-1 victory at Richmond. However, the next victory did not come for another 6 games. The Bobcats defeated Navy 4-3 for their second win. The team is now 2-12 on the season and have one more road game on Tuesday at Fordham before their home opener on Thursday against Sacred Heart.
And Jordan, the Quinnipiac softball team spent spring break in Clearwater, Florida, but they weren't there to work on their tans. They traveled there to compete in 2 separate tournaments, the USF Under Armour Invitational and the Michelle Smith Spring Break Tournament. The Bobcats lost 7 out of 8 games in the USF Under Armour Invitational and won again only 1 game out of 5 in the Michelle Smith Spring Break Tournament. They will travel to Baltimore, Maryland this weekend for the Townsend Monmouth Invitational.
Both tennis teams have been in action over the past couple of weeks. The men's and women's teams both suffered 2-5 losses at South Dakota State on the 10th. The very next day, both teams lost 3-4 to Creighton. The women's team had their next match at Navy postponed while the men were shut out 7-0 by Valparaiso. Both teams will be back on the court this week with matches at Fairfield.
And the Quinnipiac women's indoor track and field team finished their 2013-2014 season. Shamil Samuels became the first Bobcat to place in an event at the ECAC Championships. Samuels finished in 6th place in the 400 meter. The Bobcats finished their season with program records in 12 different events. They were also named New England champions in the 400 meter and 4x400 meter relay for the first time in program history.
Acrobatics and tumbling made the long trip out west last week for a tri-meet against Oregon and Azusa Pacific. The Bobcats would finish in 3rd place in the meet, finishing more than 10 points behind 1st place Oregon, more than 8 points behind 2nd place Azusa Pacific. The team then traveled even further west for a meet in Honolulu. The sunshine was evidently good for the team as they defeated Hawaii Pacific. Their next meet will be on April 5th in West Virginia against Alderson Broaddus and Fairmont State. This will be their last competition before the NCAA Championships at Azusa Pacific. Well, what a week, Carolyn.
It certainly is an exciting time for Quinnipiac athletics.
And we are going to do it all over again next week.
Can't wait, Jordan. If you want even more, check us out on Twitter at Q30 Sports.
And visit our website at q30television.com.
For Jordan Siegler and our entire crew, I'm Carolyn Fales, and we'll see you next week.